ordinarily, there's nothing wrong with politics and politicians. Because there's no democracy without politics. Politics, ordinarily, is supposed to be the contestation of ideas, ideals, if you like, ideological leanings, on how best to manage the resources of the state for the greater good of the greater majority of the people. Simple. There's nothing wrong. But there is something wrong with our kind of politics in Nigeria. The bane on our democracy has been the kind of politics we play in Nigeria. And unfortunately, we are a 27-year-old democracy by this year, and we still do not see a paradigm shift or even an attempt to overcome this particular challenge I'm about to talk about. Whereas democracy is supposed to be a government of the people, by the people, for the people, a majority kind of democracy. When competing ideas are put forward to the people, they will now decide which of these ideas best suits their need, and then they vote accordingly. But in the case of Nigeria, what we have is a majoritarian, not a majority, a majoritarian kind of democracy along ethnic, religious, and regional lines. To put it in summary, the end of our democracy is the identity politics of ethnicity, religion, and region that we play that has dominated and characterized our democratic experience since the First Republic. And the difference is this. Any country that's plagued by identity politics of ethnicity and religion will have its democratic process yielding dividends in form of patronage for a few friends and associates or cronies. Whereas a truly liberal democracy that encompasses the aspirations of the greater majority of the people, irrespective of identities, will yield good governance. So the question now is this. How come our politicians or politics somehow have rendered institutions ineffective and has rendered laws unimplementable? It is because the reward system for identity politics is not good governance. It is patronage. That's why consistently, one of the major vessels for corruption in Nigeria has been procurement, because that is the centerpiece of the dispensation of patronage. So the challenge for us as a people is, after 27 years, and by 2027 we will have been a 28-year democracy. How come we've not been able to interrogate this very bane of our democracy with a bird's eye view on how to reform the process and flip it around? We need to transit from an identitarian, majoritarian kind of democracy to one that is truly liberal, that brings all of us together around ideas, common ideals of collective development along national security, national and economic development. Until we're able to flip that, we'll be having these conversations from years to come. And to do that, all of us seated here must understand one thing. We have become victims of what we collectively convey, all of us seated here, all of us. So to achieve this paradigm shift, we must all be ready to subsume our individual identities, ethnicity, religion, or region, into a super pan-Nigerian identity. We must be ready to stop voting along religious lines, ethnic lines, and also prevent sentiments. If you look at all our political parties, there is none with an identifiable ideological leaning, because the purpose of politics in Nigeria is power grab for self-service. It has been generated into a criminal franchise where everything is thrown into it. And if you look at the processes that throw up politicians, they cannot build any positive fruit for the people. So we must begin from that process. We must kill identity politics. But to kill it, we need to skillfully, carefully, and progressively flip the tide and begin to have political parties that will be able to mobilize Nigerians along their individual economic interest groups for the greater good of the majority of the people along clearly defined ideological leanings. Until we get to that point, our democracy will not yield the much needed dividend in terms of improved security and welfare for the people. Those that are in position of leadership right now, realizing how unsustainable our bad ways have been, you can see that Nigeria right now is a country at war with itself. We can't even secure ourselves anymore. We can't feed ourselves anymore. Our internal debts rising. So you can see that After many years of doing things in the wrong way, the combination now is such that the Nigerian state is starting on the brink of state failure. So one would have expected that those that are in power now, from the president to the governors to the senators, we realize that that comes a time in the life of every nation when those that are privileged to be in power will realize that enough is enough. And so what are they supposed to do? Take the conscious step to commit class suicide. And in committing class suicide, it is to preserve your own interest within the larger society now, where you are not supposed to prioritize public interest over and above partisan and sectional interest. However, this is far-fetched. I'm sure my brother chuckled because he knows that that will not happen. But the gradualist approach out of this situation will be, for those of us that are Nigerians, if indeed you are proud of this system, we need to come together now under a coalition of the willing. I've been emphasizing this. The weakest link in our democracy value chain is the political party system. But we don't need to come on board and fix it. Let us come together as a people around a clearly defined ideal of national redemption and then participate in the political process. There will push back from those that are there. But one thing I know for sure is people power in its raw form will neutralize every form of state attempt at electoral subterfuge. But to harness people power, you must come across as clearly different and distinct in your purpose and vision from what the status quo is. So the challenge is before us, and nobody will do it for us. We are no longer in an era where you are going to have intervention that will be revolutionary, all of that. No. We need to apply more democracy to fix what is wrong with our current democracy. Like I said in my first presentation, you see, identity politics is the bane of our democracy. A research was conducted globally about Nigerian democracy in 1987, and international scholars came up with the terminology prebendalism to describe Nigeria particularly after the experience of the Second Republic. And what is prebendalism? When appointed or elected public officials have a sense of entitlement to the material benefit of their areas of responsibility. And that is why in Nigeria, corruption is cultural. It is sanctioned by tradition. It is certified by religion. And it is dispensed by government. There is a legitimacy around corruption in Nigeria. That is why it is normal to say, I worked for a presidential candidate, I've not been compensated. And the president will know that somebody wants to be governor, and make the person the minister in charge of power. And in fact, I will expect the person to generate electricity when you have simply told him, go there and help yourself enough to go to your state and be able to prosecute your electoral war or battle. That has been deceptive. We need to break it as a people. But because we are held captive, and this is what we are accomplishing as a people, most of us are held captive by our tribalistic and religious bigotry. We somehow have surrendered our common sense to those who are dividing us along these primordial lines, and we have donated to them this irrevocable power to continuously rule us and divide us. So we must retrieve these things back. As an Igbo man, as a Yoruba man, as a whatever you are, realize that as Nigerians, we are one people with one common need, with one common aspiration. Until we come to this realization and take our destiny back, nothing can happen to the contrary.